What's going on? It's Preachy, and I'm bringing you a mod spotlight. It's Hunter Week this week, but the beta servers are in fact kaputski. They're absolutely owned, and unfortunately no one has stepped in from Blizzard to actually fix it. What's going on, France? What's going on, you French Blizzard guys? Get it sorted, get it fixed. So what I'm doing today is a mod spotlight for you guys, and this is one that's been requested on the Preach Gaming forums, and it's actually a pretty vital mod, and why I haven't covered it yet, we'll never know, but I'm doing it today, and that's what matters. I will point out I am doing this in Alterac Valley. I would, you know, if you want to read the chat, you can, but anything can and will happen in a public PvP battleground. There is no Robocop in here who's going to clean out this chat for us. That is not going to happen. There will be plenty of spam, and of course, everybody in here, according to everybody else, is in fact a noob. So I'm going to set up Grid. Grid is a super awesome add-on, and if you are going to configure it, I recommend you come into Alterac Valley. You go and find yourself a nice little spot, or somewhere really obvious like me, because I'm a baller. I'm going to stand right in the middle and get it sorted. So what is Grid, and why is it so cool? Grid is just a raid frame add-on. It just shows us our raid. That's all it's for, really. But then it goes so much deeper. It goes balls deep. It really likes to tuck itself in there nicely. And if you set it up and configure it really well, not only does it look cool on your screen, but it can actually make you a much better player, especially when you're doing progress raids and you want to be the king of dispelling, the king of rescuing people, all that kind of good stuff. Grid is the one. I love Grid. There are other things that do it. Yes, there is. But I love Grid. It was the originator of violence in this case. It was the big #1 starter for this, and overall it just looks fantastic. And the Alliance has won already. Super duper. So we're going to jump back into a queue. Hopefully we'll get in there soon enough. Of course, the problem with Alterac Valley is that people can lose rather quickly. So where's my AV? Oh, we'll join the battle. Let's see how the queue times are on this one. Join battle? Yeah, I'm in the queue. Awesome. So let's look at Grid. Grid should appear on your minimap round about here. If you have disabled that for any random reason whatsoever, go into Interface, Add-ons, and you should find Grid somewhere. No, because I've got it on mini add-ons, so it doesn't matter. I've got it on my map. Or you can have /grid. Grid. There you go. This is your basic Grid config, and this is so much easier than what we had in the past. Any of you guys who are super old school will remember that the original Grid configuration window was in fact hell on earth, and finding where to do the more advanced stuff was in fact a complete pain in the backside. It was not fun whatsoever. So before we... oh, here we go. Straight into AV again. Awesome. Yeah, we'll go in. You know, I actually made my first character, fun fact, based on this picture of a dwarf. And it was a dwarf warrior. I thought that dwarf looked really cool, and I was well up for that. So I don't need to type anymore. I'm going to use the minimap. Grid. So your first one is obviously, what the hell does it look like? And this is actually very important because the standard grid actually looks a bit of a mess. There's no doubt about that. Default grid, I think, looks garbage. I think it looks absolutely awful. And you want a cool place for it to stand. Look how beautifully that sits. In fact, something has moved, because my grid should align perfectly with my buttons. And I believe Grid has moved. Oh my god. Don't rage, Preach. Keep it together. So obviously we've got frame width here. This is the individual width of your frames, so you can move that backwards and forwards, just dragging that along. It actually drags really nicely. It's pretty cool. And the frame height, how high you want them to go. So I've got it to nicely fit in here. I will configure that so it's central. Oh, why has my grid moved? Border size. You can see I have this turned right off. Now, Grid tends to come with like weird borders, and also has this background, which we'll get to shortly. I like this, the small gap in between. I think that's pretty swish. And corner size. This is going to be sort of corner icons and stuff, the size of corner indicators. What we'll have is we're going to have little squares in the corner. And this is how big you want them to be. I don't want them to be too big. My frames are pretty small. I don't want them to be taken up with masses of information. I don't want that at all. I don't think that's pretty cool. Show tooltips out of combat if you want that. I don't want tooltips. I just want to see the player's name, and that's all I want to see. If you want them always, never, out of combat, these are just tooltips for spells and stuff like that. That's cool. Orientation of the frame. Do you want to flip it up so it's horizontal? It's not actually going to change mine, which sucks, but you know, you can have it horizontal and vertical if you want to do it. Mouse over highlights, you can have those as well. This is all basic, normal stuff. You'll see this in any of the add-ons that you guys go out and pick up. Pitbull, all this kind of stuff have the same stuff. Textures of the colours, you can have whatever you want. Healing bar opacity, that's how much you want it to stand out, that kind of stuff. Invert the bar colours if you want. Swap the foreground, background colours on bars. Why you would want to do that, I have no idea. And this is the stuff we're going to get to shortly. This is your icon sizes that are going to show up on your screen. You should see a couple start popping up when people get into combat. And then we're going to modify those to make us a better player. That's the whole point of our mod spotlights, is we're making you better. So we're going to look into this, Adam, and how that can actually do that. Because it does. It does make you better. It makes you faster. It makes you more efficient. And I prefer it just simple the configuration options to the standard Blizzard one. We've obviously got the standard Blizzard one here. Look at that. Compared to this gorgeous sexiness. Oh, go away. Really don't like that one at all. Get the hell away from me. This is the important bit, the indicators, okay? The indicators are the stuff that's going to appear on your bar rather than just the health. The standard grid procedure is to show you people have less health. So you can see that guy has lost 92% health, and now he's got some icons appearing. These are the icons we talk about. Oh, he's got Flame Shock on him, and he's lost health. That's the healing bar opacity and all that kind of stuff. Really, really cool. So the border icons, this is stuff that will light up. You can see there's a border icon around Zadie because I have him selected. So what we have in here is various things that we can have a border around. So if you're a Resto Shaman, you can have a buff for Earth Shield. You can have a big border around the guy you have your Earth Shield on. I actually prefer a center icon for that, but we'll get there in the end. As you can see, these are various little icons that shine up. So let's look at what's selected. Low HP warning, low mana warning. So people who have this border around on my screen have got low HP. As a healer, that is important. They get nice standard border around them. Or they have low mana. I can see without having to ask or check people out who has low mana. I will see that straight away. That is pretty cool. I can just see if they've got full health and a border around them, they actually have mana issues. Something I might need to throw out a hymn of hope. Do you see where we're coming with being a better player? We can see all our healers in our healing team, in our squad, have all got a border around them, although their health is good, which means they've got low mana. Hymn of hope time, baby. My grid has just pointed that out to me. It's just a simple glance at that information has made it worthwhile. And of course, my current target. If I didn't want that, because I can see my current target here, you can see that there's disappeared now. There's no border there. And if I do this, there's the border now for while I'm targeting people. You can see the borders follow me around. Turn it off. All done. No border at all. So I'm going to leave that off. I just want a border around people who have low HP and low mana warning, so they stand out for me a little bit higher than the rest. I think that's really cool. Your healing bar is how much, you know, the health is in there, but you can also have information in there, which is always very cool. Options for the healing bar indicator. You can have different options in there as well. I don't actually recommend messing around with that too much. I don't think it's worthwhile. Incoming heals is generally what you want to see, because if you're about to throw out a massive, expensive, huge, fast heal, but you can also see that this guy's getting a big ton of healing coming already, then you can actually make that decision that, yo, I don't need to do that. Center text. Not a lot of people use this. It actually says, you see the center text there, Ghost, but of course with a smaller frame, and I don't think you need big frames for this stuff. It can't fit the whole world in. But you've got generally the names of the players in there. I think that's pretty cool, so you can say, yo, dude, you have problems. Especially if you've got trial members or people, you've got a lot of paladins. As you can see in here, we had a lot of paladins. If I wanted to tell Weld or Weldon's that he's got a problem, I can't say, oh, what's his name? Click him and check his name. I can see just by mousing over and seeing an indicator that this guy has this issue. So Crim, you've got Flame Shock on you, or debuff of death. You know, shit like that. We want to know that kind of stuff. So you can also get this for feigned death, health deficit, incoming heals. Health deficit is actually pretty cool, and you can swap that around for current health. If you think of bosses like Chimeron, we wanted to know how much health the player had, not how much health he had lost. We didn't want that. We can do that in here, so we get a nice figure indicator. Now this will appear as text in the center text. That sounds obvious, but I want to reiterate that. It will not be a picture, it's actual words. We have offline warning, we have ghosts, that kind of stuff, and of course unit names. So if you don't want your player names, you can switch that off and they'll just be pally icons, you know? And I don't want that. I want the name of my players, especially when I'm raiding. I want to know what the hell those guys are doing and who it's happening to. Especially if you've got a border which is aggro warnings. One of the things you can put on is you have aggro on that guy. You could put a nice icon border around him and you can say his name. Yo, Crim, you have aggro. Very, very cool. Now this is where you want to make a really important decision, is your center icon. Tough stuff tends to be already pre-selected for you. Now when we get into the next one, which is adding our individual extra buffs that we're more aware of and we want to know about, this is where we want our large obvious picture in the middle. And as you can see, this rotates quite a lot. But you can pick individual stuff that occurs in boss fights. Very important, guys. So if we were doing Blood Queen Lanethel, I want to say. I think she's Lanethel. I haven't done it for a long time. Essence of the Blood Queen was actually a very important buff that we needed to be aware of. So we wanted to make sure that Essence of the Blood Queen, we knew who had it and who was going to become a vampire very, very soon. This is also important. If you are a dispeller of any kind, as all healers are now, we want to know what we can dispel. And of course, we don't want to know, in most occasions, stuff we cannot dispel. This is not always the case, and this is why these generalizations are actually pretty cool. As you can see, I can dispel diseases and magic as my priest. I cannot dispel curses and poison. So I don't want every curse in the game and every poison in the game to appear on my grid. I don't want that. What I do want to know is specific ones. So if I might say, this boss has poison of death, we'll call it Preach's Anal Poison. I don't want to show every poison, but I would add a buff or a debuff called Preach's Anal Poison. I do want to see that, but I don't want to see every poison in the game, and that's how that'll work. Very, very cool, and this is added to debuffs as well. So for healers, again, here's the debuffs I've added individually. Incinerate Flesh from, oh, what is that guy's name? He's the guy from Trial of the Crusader who looks like, I want to say Jordorax or something like that. I think he begins with J. He looks a little bit like a Kill Jaden, or in fact looks like the devil from South Park. That guy looks like the devil from South Park. Very important that if you got Incinerate Flesh, those guys were going to get immediate heals. How many times in boss fights do we see this debuff of death land on a certain player, and we need to get rid of it very, very quickly, or that guy will need immediate healing? Well, we don't wait for an add-on like Bigwigs to announce who has it and then look for the names. We configure it in our grid to say instantly Incinerate Flesh. So if we were to say this Devouring Plague debuff, that's just disappeared, but this Repentance debuff was in fact Incinerate Flesh, I know immediately that guy has Incinerate Flesh, and I can start casting my Penance, get a shield on him, all that kind of stuff. If you did Trial of the Crusader, I'm stuck in Trial of the Crusader mode, that was the last time I configured this add-on for a healer. Anu Barak put the Frost debuff on people, which needed healing immediately. It was no good waiting for the add-on to say the Frost debuff is on these 5 people, then looking who your target was. You instantly needed to know that's your target, he has the debuff, and your heal needed to be in the air. It needed to be on its way. And Grid can make that happen in such an easy fashion and configurable around that. I really like that as well. So you can see we've got all sorts of extra stuff. Soul Reaper from Leech King has been added individually. In Soul Reaper again could insta-give the tank. I needed to get a pain suppression ready. Things like that needed to be ready. Waterlog from the Twilight Ascendant Council. All this kind of stuff. Very, very cool. Now, this other stuff we tend to want to find, which is stuff like when we get our shields, which is in fact things like Weakened Soul. Weakened Soul as a disc priest is actually very, very dangerous, because Weakened Soul means we cannot recast our shields. As a disc priest, we of course rely on our shields for things like Rapture callbacks, that kind of stuff. If we're a Resto Druid and we're rejuving the whole raid, we want to know exactly who has rejuve all the damn time. Look at me just claiming all the XP, just leeching the XP, leeching the honor from our Alterac Valley victory. Let me get back in. Hopefully the queues are pretty quick and we can get back in. We'll join that battle again. Weakened Soul. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and tag Weakened Soul, because I want my grid to tell me when that guy does or does not have Weakened Soul. I think it's very, very important as a healer to know who has Weakened Soul. I want to see that. I need to be aware so I can know if I can shield that guy, or am I going to start spamming a spell that cannot be cast and thinking, why am I not casting? Just a waste of a global cooldown, waste of a second. And if you are casting that heal, it's probably because he needs it, or casting a shield, should I say. Very cool. We also have icons for things in vehicles, incoming heals. Now you can have essentially everything all the damn time, but it's about picking what's important and what is not. That's the most important thing. These ones, the top left corner icons, these are just going to be small squares in the top left hand corner of your grid frames. We'll get to that shortly. If we are spamming a ton of shields, we might want to say, oh, we need to make sure power word shield shows up as an icon. So I just go ahead and select that, and in that top icon I will know who has powered shield. Now you can see this add-on really pulling away from the normal Blizzard frames. Can I move this? Yay! From the normal Blizzard frames, we can't have that level of configuration And that's what we like. We like to be customized. We like to be ready. We like to have it ready. So if I was to go ahead and shield this guy, you can see we've got a little icon in the dot. A little dot in the corner. And you can see the icon there for weakened soul. That guy has weakened soul. That is very, very important. As a Disc Priest, I've just increased my ability to play. So I'm going to say that I'd move my corner icon a bit too small there from testing it. This is a great idea for coming into these. Where was corner icon? There it is. I want to make that a bit bigger. So if I go ahead and give myself a shield, corner icon, still not that corner size, a little bit bigger. There we go. That's nice. Okay, so I can see that guy's got a shield on him. And all I need to do now is just start spreading the news. Start spreading the news. So I've got shields on all these dudes. These guys have weakened soul. It's about to run out. Oh, you can have another shield again. I've just instantly increased my ability to play. And you can do this with every single class, guys. Everybody has some sort of ability, especially the healers. That makes this so important. Especially tanks and raid leaders need to be very, very aware of debuffs, dangerous debuffs, all that kind of stuff that's going on. And this is anything you want in the top left corner. So it could be Riptide. It could be Riptide for your Resto Shames. It could be Renews. If you're a Holy Priest and you're getting Renews up on the whole party, you could again be doing that by just giving yourself a top left corner. And of course, we've got this for all four corners, the same thing. So if I needed to track shields and Renews, whatever it needed to be, I can go ahead and do that and get it all really, really nice. I absolutely love this add-on for this kind of stuff. And the frame alpha is like the overall, oh my god, options for the frame alpha is when things go wrong. Offline, out of range, it's how much this is going to fade out and that kind of stuff. It'll tell you all these kind of icons. It's really, really cool. You really want important stuff on that one and not icons that you're using for every day-to-day gaming. So your layout is obviously pretty obvious. What do you want Grid to do while you're in solo? Well, I don't want it to do anything because Grid is a raid frame add-on. I don't want it to do anything. So you have all these options. So if I was solo, I could have it in groups of 25 with pets, whatever. If I was in a party, I don't want Grid either. I have my party frames. In a 10-player raid out, I want it grouped by 10. Now, you've got the option to add pets. Some healers don't never, ever heal pets. I am actually one of those people. I believe that the healers should be, the players should be looking after their pets. And if something is going to kill a pet, considering all their massive AoE damage reduction, then quite frankly, you were playing wrong. And I probably couldn't save it anyway, because you had it in a really silly position. Happened to me plenty of times with my Warlock is something will blow up my Imp or my Fell Guard or my Fell Hunter, whatever it will be. It's generally always my fault when that happens. No big deal whatsoever. But if you want to heal pets, if you think you're going to be a baller and cheese a little bit of healing, you can turn it on with the pets and you can see everything that's going on. We also have 25-player raid out. Battleground I've got grouped by 25 because if I was to do group by 40, it completely screws my UI up. That just looks like an absolute mess. We don't like that at all. So I want group by 25 while I'm in here. That's group by 15. Preach you scrub. Awesome. Now, hide tab is going to be your movement tab. Now, essentially, you're going to have this hidden anyway. In most occasions, you're going to have this hidden. But if you want to frame lock it, move it. There we go. Hide the tab. And, oh, Grid's in the right position again. Yay! Happy Preach. Frame lock it. Frame lock it and hide the tab. Hiding the tab is always do not show this tab when Grid is unlocked. So if when it's unlocked, you can see this is your drag icon, this tab. You can actually have the frame permanently unlocked, but I recommend that you just deselect that and just lock the frame. Why would you not lock the frame? I don't know. You do not want your Grid being dragged around at any position whatsoever. Horizontal groups, just quick stuff. I'm just going to fly through this now because I want to get to the important bit. Horizontal groups is how do you want your groups ordered? Do you want the raid groups like group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going across? Yes, that's general. So this would be group 1, this would be group 2, group 3, so on and so forth. Where do you want the anchor to drag the thing around? Top left. Boring, boring, boring. This spacing stuff is the other stuff because people always ask me how I do this. Spacing is like how close the stuff is together. Yeah, it's not very nice. Padding. Do you want the frames padded out with huge gaps? Why you would want that, I don't know. I like a nice 0. And how big you want it overall with scale. Ooh, scary stuff. Okay, this is the important bit, guys, and I want you to do this, especially when we're going into Mists of Pandaria, which is obviously coming up. Is we can add new buffs and add new debuffs. So what happens is, in World First Raiding, is when we get hit by Attack of Death 1, we simply mouse over it, read what type of spell it is. Is that a magic spell? Does it need healing? Does it need dispelling? Whatever it is, we then jump into Grid very quickly, go to status, and we add a new buff or a new debuff. And then we can go into our indicators. So let's say we had... Okay, let's do it. Why not? Add new debuff. Preach blows ghost. Add that new debuff. I've added that new debuff. I then go to my indicators. I go to my center icon. I'm looking for... I hope this works. Preach blows goats. So whenever Preach blows goats, the debuff appears on one of these players, it now appears as a big central icon. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Absolutely awesome, guys. That is the best thing about Grid, is adding these individual buffs, debuffs, just saying, hey, I need that debuff. I need to know about it. I'm a healer. I've been assigned to dispel it. I've been assigned to cope with it. I need it really obvious on my grid, and I need to know it quickly so I can start dealing with it and start coping with it. Very, very cool. This add-on, obviously, reconfigure it if you want to be a DPS and you want to see which buffs people have. Do you have tricks of the trade, stuff like that? Do you have this buff on? If you're someone who's casting maybe a Fury buff on somebody else and you need to make sure they don't already have a Berserker Rage, very, very cool for stuff like that. And also for people who have aggro, if you're a tank, make sure you've got a nice big aggro warning and all that kind of stuff. And if you're a raid leader, you need it all. So that's Grid, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope that helps you configure it and maybe sort it out a little bit more so it looks maybe even like mine, if that's what you're trying to do, or understand why we use add-ons like Grid. Take it easy, ballers.